Hi, welcome to our session today. I'm Dr. Charity Flores, Chief Academic Officer for the Indiana Department of Education. I'm joined by several team members today, and we will alternate through the course of our agenda for this session. There is a bit of housekeeping to go over before we dive in. You can turn on closed captions using the CC button towards the bottom of the video screen. And since this webinar is on YouTube, we will not be able to have a built-in Q&A session. However, staff will be introducing themselves and also share contact information throughout the presentation, and we are happy to answer any questions that you may have. When we consider accelerated learning, there are three dimensions to ensure intentionality of the work: the what, the how, and the why. We will provide details in this session to ultimately support how these three areas intersect to support our what, which is ultimately student learning. One key takeaway from today is that we want to ensure that this is not characterized as the typical summer school program. Strategies and thoughtful implementation are required to truly accelerate summer learning for students. It's important to consider how we support summer accelerated learning. We need to reframe our thinking and not necessarily focus on what students have missed, but how we can further ensure access for students with their peers. And a few things to frame your thinking before we engage in some of the specific topics today is there will not be a silver bullet. The needs of your students may look different than your neighbors. We also want to emphasize to be fiscally responsible. During this time, you may be approached by several entities. Consider your implementation plan before you buy new services. It's so important to consider the return on investment as well. Before you engage, think about the intended outcome and how the dollars that you will be spending actually support that outcome. And finally, consider external partnerships. Several community organizations have additional capacity and have been reaching out to us to indicate their interest. Be creative with who and how those organizations can support you. Additionally, our team is here to support you as well.
Good morning. My name is Dr. Emer Towler. I am the Research and Innovation Senior Specialist here at IDOE. Many schools have begun to develop accelerated learning plans to ensure students receive the building blocks for success as they cross the finish line of one grade and transition to the next. IDOE has searched through the available research to build recommended models for accelerated summer instruction. We encourage schools and districts to consider the following models and identify ways to adapt them to meet your specific needs. This research and recommendations are not all inclusive, but should serve as a springboard for schools to consider as we move into the summer and the next academic year. Our first model focuses on intensive support for those students most in need of academic assistance. The research shows that the program should be at least 5 to 6 weeks long and is clear that this method is the most effective in the weeks leading up to the next academic year rather than immediately after the previous year. IDOE recommends 3 to 4 hours of academics in the morning and enrichment in the afternoon, which could include service learning, field trips, sports, and STEAM-related activities. An important part of this model is to celebrate participation in the program with staff, students, and parents. If a student is chosen to participate, it should be seen as exclusive rather than punitive. Incentives can be used to encourage participation, which has been shown to increase both recruitment and participation. Some secondary students may not have successfully completed coursework required for graduation. This model addresses credit recovery for high school students. The research is clear that students are more likely to successfully complete and therefore ultimately pass a course using a face-to-face option. If an online-only course model is used, students should have mandatory in-building, in-person mentor support for a few hours a day, perhaps in the form of a study hall for all approach, combined with a primary online teacher. Schools and corporations should reinforce summer work opportunities or internships as a means to fulfill graduation pathways requirements. All too often, summer programs at the high school level have to compete with student opportunities to work. This type of model would potentially allow students to combine these two things. Programs can collaborate with workforce development agencies to help mitigate opportunity loss by allowing students to gain sought-after credentials and technical expertise. Programs can also foster participants' commitment to their community and peers by encouraging them to investigate challenges in their communities. In the Pittsburgh summer program, upon which this model was built, participants felt like they belonged in the program. Therefore, it is important to build relationships with students and families to ensure engagement and success.
Good morning. This is Lynn Schimmel, Director of Assessment. The Office of Student Assessment is providing support to Indiana's Accelerated Learning Plan by creating planning and guidance tools to support educators with summer learning plans for students. The planning tool is a reflective worksheet guide to support data, instruction, assessment, and current and future steps for student instruction. The guidance tool offers questions to consider and resources provided by IDOE confirmed formative assessment providers for use in the summer to bridge spring data and fall instruction. Indiana's Accelerated Learning Plan includes assessment guidance by the creation of an assessment planning worksheet to support the identification of learning needs and progress monitoring. Families, schools, and community organizations can leverage students' spring assessment data to understand student needs, design instructional plans for summer 2021, and accelerate student learning for the 2021-2022 school year. The assessment plan worksheet provides an opportunity for educators, parents, and education partners to be reflective about their current student data, determine key focus areas, examine resources, progress monitor, and consider future steps. The worksheet supports educators through planning to determine which students are at the greatest need for additional learning support by reviewing local, state, and formative assessment data, to design learning opportunities around needed content areas, mathematics and/or ELA, differentiated or targeted to specific subgroups, and to promote grade level proficiency on the Indiana academic standards. To consider available resources such as staff, materials and supplies, technology, and community partners, and any funding needed along with funding sources. To incorporate progress monitoring for the summer by considering frequency, current practices, creating or using purchased formative and interim assessments, and anticipating how staff respond to the results for next steps and encourage student progress. And to be reflective and consider next steps as to how the summer learning will influence fall instruction, impact students long term, how results will be shared with staff, and how summer learning might be scheduled in the future. The Office of Student Assessment has also created a formative assessment guidance document to help educators with their summer planning by sharing options for resources and assessing students in the summer. Although formative assessment programs are typically used to inform progress towards summative assessments, emphasis in this guidance is intended to focus on using the formative assessment tools to support instruction and continued learning goals. This document includes a set of questions to guide educators' thinking and information pertaining to IDOE confirmed formative assessment providers, analyzing current spring data, considering what resources currently exist or may need to be purchased, and how spring and fall assessments may be used as pre and post assessments in order to reflect and analyze growth. These formative assessment providers are offering opportunities to support accelerated learning efforts through curriculum, teacher toolkits, individualized learning games, progress monitoring, and interim assessments. As always, the purchase or license of new resources may supplement accelerated learning plans, but should align with the school's larger vision. This slide shows some examples of what you will see in the published comments. We first encourage you to think through your data and how assessments can support accelerated learning initiatives. For example, what data are available to help you identify students who need to participate in these opportunities? How can that data support you as you target instruction? Are there specific subpopulations of students that need some extra support in order to attain proficiency? How will we monitor student achievement during or after they participate in accelerated learning opportunities? The formative assessment guide provides ideas and considerations to support you as you think through these questions and others. Also displayed is a screenshot of the formative assessment vendor guidance for accelerated learning. IDOE worked with approved formative interim assessment vendors to determine what supports may be available to support accelerated learning this summer. This resource shares available options and links where you can find more information. Approved formative interim vendors are approved for school year 2021-2022. This approval extends through the end of the summer of 2021. School year 2021-2022 approvals are not yet published.
Hello and good morning. My name is Cole Dietrich and I serve as the Director of Title Grants and Support here at the Department of Education. And I am joined by Kristen Peterson from the After School or 21st Century School or 21st Century Program Office. We will be sharing some information about how funding opportunities that we have here at the department can help fund schools and district efforts to carry out this accelerated learning work. The Division of Title Grants and Support has a wide range of opportunities through federal grants that can be used to support the whole child and implement your plans to accelerate learning post-COVID. For instance, an accelerated learning program could include a supplemental after-school or summer program with the district's Title I funding, which is an existing funding stream schools are familiar with. Similarly, other existing federal grants such as Title IV, the Rural and Low-Income Schools Grant, and 21st Century Community Learning Center Grant can all help you implement this work, and they include a wide range of allowable activities. The most flexible funding source for accelerated learning and addressing learning loss are the three stimulus funds allocated in response to the pandemic: the CARES Act, or ESSER I, ESSER II, and ESSER III. ESSER III goes a step further and requires districts to first set aside 20% of their ESSER III funding to specifically address accelerated learning, learning loss, summer programming, and after-school programs. Statute also requires that this funding be used to meet the social, emotional, and mental health needs of our students with the ESSER funding. When it comes to accelerated learning, there are a number of opportunities and ways in which schools can use evidence-based interventions to meet the needs of students and utilize their federal funding to help make these possibilities a reality. And to help schools make the most of these opportunities that the stimulus funding provides, the Department of Education intends to offer a matching grant opportunity to invite schools to participate in strategic planning consortia with a partner, an external support partner. The goal will be to help design and implement innovative ideas and provide expertise in select focus areas. More information will be available through IDOE weekly updates for our district and school partners who are interested in participating.
All right, thank you, Cole. So as you begin to plan your summer programs, remember that this is a great opportunity to connect with community partners. So you can start by connecting with your local 21st Century Community Learning Center. The 21st Century Program is a federally funded program awarded to public school districts, charter schools, community-based organizations, public and private organizations in order to provide youth a safe environment during non-school hours. The program helps youth meet state and local student standards in core academic subjects, offers enrichment activities that help their social, emotional, and behavior development, and offers literacy and other educational services to the families of participating youth. We have over 228 21st century sites across our state, and they are eager to partner with districts to support summer accelerated learning. 21st century programs are staffed with teachers, youth workers, and youth development professionals that are trained and ready to support accelerated learning in your community. On the 21st Century website, which is linked here, you can find a map of our sites as well as a contact list with email and phone numbers of our program directors. You can also collaborate with your local YMCA, Boys and Girls Club, communities and schools, your local parks department, or any youth serving organization to provide summer accelerated learning opportunities for your students. These partners can support your academic programming in the morning and come alongside to provide meaningful enrichment activities in the afternoon. Often, community-based organizations are already providing service learning opportunities, college visits, work experience, and internships, so they may be really equipped to support high school workforce readiness efforts as well. If you have any questions about partnering with community-based organizations or planning summer enrichment activities, you are encouraged to contact me. I look forward to hearing from you.
Thanks, Kristen. I'm Christy Berger, the Director of Social Emotional Behavior Wellness, and I'm joined with a few others as we talk about supporting schools and students. In addition to the academic aspect of accelerated learning, we need to ensure that our students are socially, emotionally well, and that their needs are being met. To lay the foundation for whole child teaching, it is important to look at Indiana youth data. The stats above are from the IYI Kids Count Data Book 2021, which means that the majority of these data points were provided and collected prior to the statewide shutdown. We know that we will continue to see gaps in some of these stats and be able to find ways to support our students. Whole child teaching is vital, especially after a pandemic. During accelerated learning, it is up to schools to ensure that we help eliminate barriers for academic success to our students. On the next slide, you'll see that in addition to our students, our adults too have been affected by the pandemic. The supports that we should consider for our students, we also need to consider for our adults as well. When we're looking at whole child teaching, think of it in these 5 buckets. Being intentional about our students' wellness, our adult wellness, so thinking about snacks and breaks and exercise and movement. Also, when we think about the mental health needs of our students, is there a way that we can connect with community partners, continue mental health supports from school staff? Could we provide this through telehealth or in person? In addition to that, thinking about social emotional learning as a part of your accelerated program, just as it is a part of your school day. Teaching those lifelong skills such as good study habits, responsible decision making, and really including that student voice as well. Thinking about the student service personnel that you have during accelerated learning. Again, will students have access to the school counselor, school social worker, the people that they've connected through without the school year? Will they also have that opportunity during accelerated learning? And last, student voice needs to be heard and elevated throughout all learning, but especially during the accelerated learning time. On the next slide, you will see several different links that our team has put together to help you as you're planning what social emotional learning might look like in your accelerated learning program. You'll see that there are a variety of books, there are academic alignments, there's even a course for 6th through 12th grade students. In the last link, you will see additional ways that you can use ESSER II dollars to support social emotional learning and mental health for your students. As always, please feel free to reach out to myself or any of my teammates.
All right, hello all. My name is Adam Pitt, and I am the Assistant Director of English Learners and Special Populations at IDOE. I'll be covering 3 bucket areas and considering English learners in your accelerated learning plans through services and supports, instruction for ELs, and partnerships and funding. English learners are an especially vulnerable population with the impact of COVID due to a number of factors. However, we also know that this is a resilient student group that enriches our classrooms. So let's look at how we can focus on ELs into the coming year. First, services and supports. It's important to know that all the compliance measures of EL programming still remain intact and take on increased importance. English language development services should be tailored to student need and provided regularly. Individual learning plans, or ILPs, which allow ELs to access core grade level content and assessments, should be revisited with current needs in mind and implemented daily. Other compliance components, such as parent notification, identification and assessment, and so on, are all essential and required, but also set the foundation for your programming. So making sure those pieces are in place is very important. Second, let's look closer at classroom instruction. I mentioned ILPs earlier, and that is an example area where it's critical for EL and classroom staff to collaborate. Without that collaboration, services, supports, instruction can become disjointed, negatively impacting the student. But when collaboration does occur, instruction can become enhanced, inclusive, and responsive. It draws out both teachers' expertise. For example, collaborating on lessons to ensure language development is occurring, especially interactive activities with multiple language domains represented, would be a good way to collaborate. And after the past year, those language development activities, especially oral language, interacting with peers, will be a key area of focus. Lastly, to touch on a few other points, creating partnerships continues to be essential in welcoming multilingual families. This goes beyond meeting compliance measures such as sending a letter home translated, but instead direct outreach in a language they understand to establish two-way communication and get an understanding of family needs and their contributions. Second, as you are zooming out on your EL programming and considering your goals, needs, and any changes due to COVID, we strongly recommend being a part of the conversation with ESSER Gear funding. This is funding that can absolutely support your EL programming. So please ensure that ELs and EL programming is a part of that conversation. That's all I have. Don't hesitate to reach out with any questions.
Good morning. This is Dr. Nancy Hosapple, Special Education Director for the Department of Education. As you prepare your accelerated learning plans, keep in mind that students with disabilities must be included in the plans, and the services in the IEPs are implemented as written. Services such as accommodations and modifications need to be taken into consideration. Accelerated learning is not to take the place of ESY or compensatory services. ESY, or extended school year, are special education and related services that are provided beyond the normal school year in accordance with the student's IEP at no cost to the parent and meets the standards of the Department of Education. Compensatory services is typically prescribed for failure to implement the IEP as written and/or denial of FAPE. The contact information for Christy, Adam, and myself are provided in the next slide. Thank you.
Thanks, Dr. Holzapfel. The next segment highlights initiatives that may not as readily be on your radar. Post-secondary and students coming into kindergarten. My name is Ron Sandlin, and I serve as the Senior Director of School Performance and Transformation. I hope this next section sparks ideas about accelerated learning related to the connection between K-12 and post-secondary attainment. These stats provide a quick snapshot as we consider the prevalence and importance of post-secondary opportunities. In Indiana, we have a statewide goal to increase certifications and credentials earned by high school students, and this summer offers an opportunity to do just that. In addition to accelerating learning for students within the K-12 space, we encourage schools to consider intersections with longer-term post-secondary credentials as students transition into higher education and the workforce during and after the pandemic. These may include identifying students close to earning an industry-recognized certification and targeting opportunities to complete those requirements over the summer. Schools may also want to identify students within 2 or 3 courses of earning the rigorous Indiana College Core or Technical Certificate and partner with higher education institutions to enroll students in those courses over the summer. ESSER funds may be used to support each of these initiatives for students, and the IDOE is committed to designing and implementing programs to support these efforts with state set-aside funds. More details about these opportunities using state set-aside funds will be provided in the coming weeks as details are finalized.
Hello, this is Robin LeClaire. Good morning, everyone. I am the Director of Early Learning and Elementary Education. Traditionally, in years past, we have seen children from low-income backgrounds begin kindergarten less prepared for traditional schooling than their higher-income peers. Without any preschool experience, children are even less likely to develop strong school readiness. With COVID-19 implications, many more students are expected to start school with little to no early learning experience. And if we leave this unaddressed, we could exacerbate the learning gaps and level of catch-up needed over the next year. So offering a summer enrichment program may be one way to facilitate a smooth transition to kindergarten and ensure all children arrive at school ready to learn. Kickstarting Kindergarten was adapted from the Fairfax County Public Schools Bridge to Kindergarten program. An evaluation study of that program revealed that children who participated gained 4 months of self-regulation skills during the 3-week program and began kindergarten with similar literacy skills as their peers who had attended a full year of preschool. FSSA and IDOE recommend at least a 3-week program, 4 hours per day. Some logistical highlights would be that the program is most successful when hosted in the school where the student will attend in the fall. Transportation should be provided if needed, with all safety measures in place. A snack or meal should be served, and pre and post data should be collected in order to evaluate the program's effectiveness. Funding may have been a barrier to this type of program previously. However, with ESSER funds, this may be a more realistic goal than ever before. The links in the slide include the academic and social-emotional skills to be taught, including those skills that are considered the student role, with which many early learners have no experience. There is also a template for a family engagement report and a link to assessment options. Any questions can be addressed to me, Robin LeClaire, via email or phone.
Good morning. Now we will focus on logistics and other considerations. My name is Marcia Yurchek, and I'm the School and Community Nutrition Assistant Director. USDA pandemic waivers allow for all children, including pre-K through 12 students, to eat for free through the end of the summer. As we know, children who are hungry cannot learn. So up to 2 meals, including breakfast and lunch, may be served under the Summer Food Service Program or the Seamless Summer option. The meal service must follow USDA meal pattern requirements. It must meet all USDA record-keeping requirements, and your program must be pre-approved in advance of the start date. As with all child nutrition programs, reimbursement must be used for allowable expenditures within the food service account. The first place to start is to communicate with your food service staff. Your food service director would then apply for the program within our CMP web portal. Your food service staff would also need to complete required training modules. Your food service directors are aware of the process to apply for these programs, and certainly they can contact their assigned IDOE school and summer field specialists for assistance. Thank you.
Hello, I am Mike LaRocco, Director of Transportation for the Indiana Department of Education, and I'd like to cover a few potential issues related to transportation for this program. If you are running a summer school program at the same time as the accelerated learning program, there is a potential for conflict as far as the need for drivers. For example, if you have a summer school with a school start of 8 a.m. and 20 drivers assigned to drive, and then you add the accelerated program students as well, you may not have enough drivers available to transport all students that need transportation. So you may want to consider starting and ending the accelerated program at a different time so you can then use those same drivers for summer school and the accelerated learning program. With that, you may want to consider lunch if that change in time frame extends one of the programs over lunchtime. Please talk with your transportation department in advance of setting any program time, location, or extra needs to ensure the availability of transportation support. Along with time scheduling, program location could have an effect on transportation issues. If you are running summer school and the accelerated learning program at the same time, many of the students for both programs will be riding the same bus, and if you have the buildings housing the programs a significant distance apart, you may need to build in more time for transportation and/or consider some type of shuttle option. This could be an issue if you have multiple sessions in a day for either program. When those inevitable changes happen with your students for those various programs, please make sure transportation is notified immediately. In rural areas particularly, a change with one student can have a significant effect on the route for that child, as well as all the other students riding that bus. Any students that you have in this program that may need additional assistance on the bus needs to be identified and communicated to transportation as early as possible so that appropriate resources can be prepared. Any support the student needed during the school year, especially anything required by the IEP, must be continued for the accelerated learning program as well. And finally, those students that are designated for the Kickstarting Kindergarten program must still be transported in appropriate child safety restraint systems that are appropriate for the child's height and weight. Should you have any questions, please feel free to contact me or anyone in our office. The contact information is listed right before the end of this transportation. Thank you.
Good morning. My name is Jolene Burkale. I am the Student Health Services Specialist at the DOE, and I would like to spend the last few minutes of this webinar discussing COVID-19. There are several strategies that have been proven to decrease the spread of disease. These include wearing masks, social distancing, frequent hand washing, increasing ventilation, and staying home when you are sick. Many schools have successfully incorporated these strategies into the school day, and you are encouraged to continue to do so during accelerated learning. The protocols for incorporating these strategies will be dependent upon current federal and state guidance, your local community spread, and the number of positive cases you have in your school corporation. During the school day, a staff person will need to be available to assess and send home staff and students that present with symptoms of illness. All persons with COVID-19 symptoms should be encouraged to get tested and to stay home until their test results are known. Schools must track and report any positive cases of COVID-19 that occur to the Indiana Department of Health through the School Health Portal. When a school becomes aware of a positive case, contact tracing should be done, along with following the current quarantine and isolation guidelines. As the recommendations regarding the management of COVID-19 in the school setting are continually being updated, it will be important for schools to stay in contact with their local health department. Additional resources available to schools include the Indiana Department of Health's Back to School webpage and mailbox, and schools are encouraged to email any questions they may have regarding COVID-19 to this mailbox. Also, please feel free to reach out to me at any time, as I am happy to assist you.
And this is Charity Flores again, sharing some data considerations on behalf of Dr. Keller. Since we are still in a legislative session, we wanted to bring awareness to some data points that we believe will be important for schools to consider collecting or maintaining through the course of the accelerated learning programs. As we mentioned at the very beginning, there will be several entities really focused on the potential return of investment and also fiscal responsibility in relationship to the use of these funds. So when you think about the data and how it might be collected, you can always rely on your student information system as a mechanism to help support this. But at a minimum, we believe that student enrollment, student attendance, potential baselines that are used in terms of that assessment information that Lynn discussed be documented. And then as you prepare for post-tests, making sure that that information is collected as well. And then in relationship to who's providing services for each student, making sure that we have some clear documentation about the teacher who is serving or providing support, and then also documenting what your specific program details might be. So beginning and ending dates, number of days, and instructional hours. So again, please just be mindful as you start to develop your plans that the data collection perspective is considered as well. So I want to thank you this morning for taking time to attend our session. We are working very quickly to continue to provide updates, and a survey will be going out on Friday to try to ascertain additional areas where you may need additional support. A follow-up survey will solicit some of that feedback. And just a general reminder, our staff is fully available to help support you as well. So I know we shared a lot of information this morning and had a lot of different participants sharing logistical and other instructional considerations. But please know that we're here to support you as you engage in these efforts. Thank you and have a great day.